Well, hi, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me in my shop here on June 27th. And I almost overlooked something about this radio. And thank you to the viewer who wrote me a note and just questioned the condition of the dial string. Yes, the dial string. So I've already noticed that the string is operating down here incorrectly, which we'll take a closer look at. The kind of problem here often does lead to a broken string. Many videos ago, I demonstrated that by turning this, you could get this to tip a little bit. Whoops. The dial plate was being pulled by the string. We'll take a closer look at that. All those things are suggestive that the string is getting beat up in this radio and is probably going to break. In fact, a little bit surprising it hasn't broken here in my while I've been working on it. So a lot of these radios, putting a new string on is actually a very challenging undertaking. This one, no. This is actually relatively simple. In fact, hey, look at that. When you look in there, you can see that this is tipped forward. You know what? That introduces another issue. There are some grommets under here. You might be able to, yeah, you can see it in the camera. This piece right here is a rubber grommet. And I'm not sure it's maybe picked up in the camera, but it's cracked. Yeah, I guess you can see it's a little bit, there's a crack right here. You know, these things are under compression for years and years and years, and even when the screw-based compression gives up, it still has the weight of this sitting on it for years and years and years, and you know, look what's happened to me after years and years. It's been squished flat, it's gone hard. So why have these rubber mounts here? You can see there's a grounding band right here to ground this piece right to the chassis. But why not just bolt this right down solid? And I think the answer is because of the string and the tuning. And I'm not quite sure. Now, in some radios, there's electrical reasons for doing this. This piece dare not be connected to the chassis. But that's not the case in this radio, because you can see the grounding strap here. So why did they do this? I think it's to provide a little bit of springiness in the string. Now, it doesn't really make a lot of sense what I said, because there's actually springs holding the string on, and the spring is what's providing the string tension. String. I guess I better speak clearly here. You can definitely see an angle happening. Is this wheel bent? It is bent. It is bent a little bit. Now, how that came about, I don't know. I can't say. So how do we go about changing the string? Well, removing the original one is easy, but you don't want to do it till you make certain critical observations. Particularly if, and this is really critical, if you don't have a stringing guide for the particular radio you're working on, and if the string is actually still on, then you can examine it and you can kind of develop your own stringing guide. If the string is broken and has fallen off or is even gone, completely removed, guesswork is not a good idea on doing strings. And the reason is, if you guess wrong, you end up doing a lot of frustrating work to get it together, and then find out when you turn the knob to the right, the pointer goes the wrong way. That kind of stuff can happen. And you got to do the whole thing over again. And frustration can climb to the point where you're ready to throw the radio into the garbage can. Not this one. This one is simple. But others are difficult to do, especially some European radios. You don't want to jump in and do a European radio string without drinking a lot of coffee. Is coffee going to help with this? So doing this string means I have to get access to this wheel. That means, in this radio, removing this plate. It's just got some screws holding it. It looks pretty easy to do. But the pointer's in the way, so the pointer has to be removed. Now, the pointer can be on here in a number of ways. It can be just press fit. It's possible. It's just pushed on, and you just pull it off. I'm looking down in here and I can see a little screw. Now that screw is probably locking this wheel to the shaft. We don't dare loosen that off or we get into all kinds of new alignment issues. So it's easy to do a string and then have the pointer in the wrong place. Not so much with this radio. So I'm going to guess the pointer just pulls off. The way we can tell this is if I hold the capacitor still so it won't move, and then I try to move this a little bit, just a little bit. Pretty stiff now. It might be stuck. Notice I'm not pulling up here. I'm going to bend it. I don't want to bend it. Okay, so it's not slipping. Give it a little more twist here. Well, that's pretty hard now. So it feels like it's locked in place. So we're going to take a closer examination of what's going on in here. Try to sort out. If we can't get this off, we can't get the plate off, I don't think I should attempt anything with the string. But we should look at what's going on down here, because this is more interesting than a person might at first imagine. And I think I'm going to start by making a couple diagrams here to make it more plain what is going on. Okay, so step this way. This is how cheap I am. One of our kitchen knives, the handle broke. It just came off, so I threw the handle away, but I'm keeping the blade. What for? I don't know. Maybe someday it'll be useful. I think it already has proved to be useful. Okay, need a pencil? Got one. So the shaft here is what I'm going to be drawing, this tuning shaft. There's a couple of different versions of this. So I'm going to draw the one I believe is here. We haven't looked at it yet, but I believe it expanded quite a bit. I think this is what we would find. I'll try to draw this as best I can. And you can't see a darn thing. Look down here. There, the camera has helped. So we're up here looking at this. You'd stick the knob on this end, and the string is going around here. Now, look at the shape of it here. When the string is on a shaft, and you turn the shaft, the string will walk down the shaft because it's looped around, right? It's looped around. And as you turn the shaft, it actually travels almost like a screw thread. It travels. It'll walk up and down here as you turn this way and that way. So they don't want it to walk too far because the angle of the string will be swinging like this. And if it walks too far, it'll actually dismount from a pulley. So they want to kind of locate this action in one place. So they create a shape like this. This is all curved here. Maybe curved very sharply at the start, and maybe haven't drawn it quite the way it is. Maybe fairly sharp curve, and then like that. And the string is in here. And now, as you turn the knob and the string begins to walk, it starts climbing up here. As it climbs up, the tension is being increased because the string is being consumed in the greater diameter. There's less string in the overall, and so the string begins to increase in tension. It will reach a point, this is the idea, where the tension will be high enough, it will actually be slid back towards the center. Or the way it actually works, it'll climb a distance and then just kind of sit in this area, and the more you turn it, for every bit you go forward, it slides back a bit and it ends up not going anywhere, just sitting kind of here. And then if you turn the other way, to tune to the other end, it will travel across. As it climbs up this side, it will reach a point where, again, the tension has become so high, it can't continue. So it'll sit in this area and actually slide. And you might think, wait a minute, doesn't the string have to grip this so that it won't just turn this and the string will be stuck, which happens quite often. Well, somehow they figured it all out. So the tension is right, the string is the right type, these grooves are cut the right way, everything is just right, so that, yes, it will still move the pointer even as it's sliding back towards the center. So that's one kind. Another kind is done more like this. And you'll find these on, you gotta look at each one, look at the radio you've got and see what you've got in hand. This kind is made so there's enough distance here for the string to walk all the way down and all the way back and never have to do this sliding thing. So it depends which type you've got. Now what goes wrong here with this kind is, instead of sliding back, because the string is old, the shaft is a little rusty, there's not enough slip in this area, it's not polished enough or whatever it might be, the string will climb right out of here and get on the wide shaft. And that's what's going on with this radio. The sensation while you're tuning, and I guess I can do this. If the string breaks, it's not the end of the world. First, I'm going to make a note of which way this is done. And the way it's done is, I'm going to make a diagram here very quickly. Just bear with me while I do this. So white paper, not good in the shop here. Too much light on the white paper. So that's looking end on to the shaft. The string comes down, goes under. Now, how many times does it go around? We'll look at this closely, but for now I need to know this. It goes once, twice, and then around and out. It goes once, twice, and then around and out. And out is almost straight up like that. This is at the front, and this is at the rear. Get this backwards in some ways, and you'll end up with a radio that you turn the knob to the right and the pointer goes to the left. The number of times around here is critical. It's critical because it affects how it fits in these. And if you don't have enough times around, you don't get enough grip, and then the shaft will just spin inside the string. You won't actually advance the pointer at all. Now I have a string guide. You can find this on the internet, string guide, and it starts at the very start of the string guide. It has information about many radios. So somebody put it together back in the 40s, some company that published radio information specifically for repair people. You can get that on the internet. In the front of it is a discussion by the engineers who did this stuff, and it's like 4 pages long. 4 pages of discussion on this. The string, the thing, all kinds of stuff. So if you really want to learn about this, read that. Now I read it so long ago I don't remember most of it, but I just remember the few critical things that have to be sorted out. So we'll take a look. So right, we're going to take a close look here. Oh, I'm going to advance this and discuss what, like if you're at a yard sale or a store or something, you're looking at an old antique radio and you go, oh, is the string good? And you go like this, yeah, string's good. Now in this one, when you turn to this point here, right in here, suddenly it becomes harder to work. It still works, but it's harder. Easier here, and then right there, it's become harder. It's subtle. Some of these, you tune the radio, and it stops. And if you advance the tuning, it feels like you're pulling against the spring, because that's actually what you're doing. You should stop, because what has happened almost certainly is the string has gotten on top of itself here. It's doubled over onto itself, and it's beginning to lock itself. And so the more you force it, the more likely you are to cause the string to actually cut itself right here. So these are things you can, looking at a radio at a yard sale, gee, should I get that? Oh, okay. Well, string is good, but it's bunging up somehow. I bet you there's a string job in this radio. You can make that assessment out there. How come it's getting a little tight here too? It's getting a little tight right in here. for the same reason. We will now examine this closely with my good old close-up camera. I'm going to stop for a minute and go drink some coffee before we do this, actually. We'll take a look at how this string is actually operating before I cut it or remove it or do anything. Okay, let's take a look at this string and arrangement. Now, I'm guessing this is the original string, but it may not be. It may be an incorrect type of string. I don't think so, though. And, excuse me. Oh, that's a lot better. Oh, I see things so much clearer now. So I'm going to tune this radio and we will watch the string. Now it's traveling towards the front. It's traveling along. Okay, it's getting towards the end. So I'm looking at 600 kilohertz. I got like another 20 degrees to go. You can see the string now is starting to climb up onto the shaft, and I can certainly feel that. That's what I'm feeling right at the end of the run. That's the end of the run there. We'll go back the other way. So, okay, right in here I'm starting to feel it. And we're around 1100 kilocycles. There's lots to go. Almost 45 degrees of turning to go. So this is really going to climb here. Let's see if I can just move the camera a little bit. And come from the other side. There we are. Okay, whoops. Wow, it looks like you can see it climbing out of here already. Now see how it wants to double over onto itself. It didn't do it though. It's just continuing to move along the shaft. But look at that oil I put in there is now getting on the string. That surely can't be helpful. I put a little dab of oil in there and you can see it. You can also see the play in the shaft. So now we look at the shape. So this is shaped as that first diagram. So this is, you can call it a slider, a sloper slider. I don't know what to call it. But. So as you get to about here, the string should start sliding back towards the middle. Stop climbing. Or the string should be so thin that in fact it can climb back and forth along this thing and never ever climb out like it's climbing out. That's the end of the run there. It's just starting to climb out. I'm waiting to see it slide on this, and it's not sliding anywhere. Sometimes when you get it like this, and the tension starts going up, it will encourage the string, encourage the shaft to slip under the string, and then the string will fall back into the middle. Which is probably really how it all actually works. But in this case, it just keeps climbing out and heading for the oil. So I don't want to oil it up too much more. What is the solution here? Now I'm going to get a piece of string that the string I use. Now, this isn't ordinary string. This isn't the stuff you're tying your turkey with. This string is designed to have no stretch. In fact, this string, if you can tell, it's a woven. It's actually maybe a cord might be a better word for that. The string I've got is quite thin, so I'm just going to throw a little, as I untangle it here, right on it. We can see it in comparison. Well, it's not much thinner, is it? A little bit thinner. This is the string I would use. It's got no stretch at all in it. Bought a wheel of this, or a reel of this years ago. It came from Australia of all places. So when we remove this string, and I haven't decided to do it yet, by the way, because I'm such a cautious person. Is there anything we can do about the condition of that shaft with the string sitting there? Pretty hard to get in there and brush this clean. And how clean can you get it? I'm sure this is a steel shaft here. Sure looks like steel. It has maybe it was shiny coated like this all the way, but for some reason it's rusted back here, and the rusted surface is just too grippy. The string can't do its slide to the bottom of the valley thing anymore. So how would you buff that up? That's a toughie. Sandpaper in there? Well, that's not going to work. Sandpaper's not going to work. That's going to leave too rough a surface. In fact, in some cases, what can happen here is, and this is usually from lack of tension or not enough turns around the shaft. You turn the shaft and it just turns under the string. One possible solution for that is to sand the valley in here to make it rougher, so it grips more. It all depends what's going on with it. Okay, let's take a closer look now at the pointer. We look right at the pointer here. It's all white. There's a rivet. Something is riveted to the pointer, and usually this is a split sleeve that's just pressure fit onto the shaft, but this one appeared to be stuck pretty hard. I couldn't get it to rotate or pull off. Can we see in behind here with this camera? I'll have to change the focus on it here. Let me see if I can stick it here. Okay, good. So I'm going to have to do the Rick Wakeman playing 3 keyboards at once thing here. I use my left hand to, well, what's the use? Can't quite see the, let me come from the top here. Maybe we can see it here. Okay. Now I'm going to do the Rick Wakeman thing. I've got to stop. I got to stop and change the focus on that camera. Rick Wakeman? Too bad. Yeah, that's that clock that I can't shut the alarm off. Telling me it's 9:45 again in the morning. So we're looking down at the shaft. I'm going to turn the tuning. So where's the pointer in this? So on the left side of the screen is the front plate, and on the right side, of course, is the big wheel that's in behind. Didn't really say why the plate has to come off. The plate has to come off to get access to the wheel that's got the string on it. Am I wrong about that set screw? Is that set screw gripping the pointer? So the pointer is right there. Huh. So the shaft on the pointer is narrower than the shaft that's going inside. That set screw could be grabbing it. Now, what's holding the wheel? What's holding like the tuning capacitor here? The center shaft. You see with the ball bearings there. The center shaft. I can't quite see down there. So I'm looking for some way the big string wheel there is attached to the shaft of the tuning thing, and surely to goodness it's that screw. That's that screw there. Then you'd have to guess that the pointer is somehow inside that shaft. Is it in there overlapping? That doesn't make sense. That screw squeezing this thing, the shaft size isn't right. I don't know what's going on here. Not good to fool with stuff when you don't know what's going on. It's not really not possible. It's not. It would be dangerous to try to change the string without taking that plate off. Could put a little more muscle on the pointer. I see the pointer has a kink in it already. It's kinked right here. So a lot of these things you can get one bend out, bend it back, and it can break. Now I don't think that's about to break, but every time you bend it, you get a kind of a warping in it. It starts looking kind of crappy. And the reason I'm saying that is I'm going to tug on this pretty hard. Maybe even put a screwdriver in there and try to wedge it out. So I think I can do it with a screwdriver, apply a lot of pressure in here, and if in fact it's not going to give, I won't have bent the pointer. Like obviously I'm not going to grab the end of the pointer and yank on it and see if it comes off down here. I could accidentally loosen it on the rivet. If I put too much pressure, it'll loosen on the rivet, and then what? And what is it riveted to? I'm guessing it's riveted to this sort of cup-like split sleeve. And the cup-like split sleeve is then sliding over the top of the shaft, but the shaft is too big. So I could loosen that set screw without having the wheel move. Right? The wheel moves, then I'm all set up for trouble. Am I really? Because the wheel's position isn't critical, is it? Is it critical? It's critical in the sense that there's an end to the string. If you were to spin this, like loosen that screw, spin the wheel randomly, screw it back down tight, there's a chance when you're turning this, you're going to run out of string. You see the string's disappearing into that hole there, and then it goes down. You can't really see it, but it goes down inside the wheel where it's at least one end is on a spring, and the other end is fixed to the wheel somewhere. Just. Ugh. So I think I could probably loosen that set screw off without losing control of everything. Could set this to a limit. Of course, I have to have the set screw in an accessible position. So one limit is here. This is a limit. You can always find the limit again very easily. And the set screw is straight up. Well, isn't that interesting? How much you want to bet this is not by accident? You stick a screwdriver down there, loosen the set screw, see if the pointer slides off. That's better than putting pressure on it now. Because I'm sure I could just tighten the screw up again and, nothing bad has happened. Okay, that's the plan. That's the plan. The plan is loosen the set screw, see what happens. This wheel gets so bent. It's very solid. It didn't get bent easily, like knocked off kilter. Okay, so I need a fairly long shaft, fairly narrow screwdriver. See if this guy will do it here. Yep, that's in. Okay. Now the thing about this, just before I turn the screw, is this is a working radio right now, and when I'm done it may not be. There's always a small risk. Something horrendous is going to happen. Okay, so I'm applying more and more pressure. There it goes. Okay, so that was easy. That just came off nice. Now that's really loose. Don't tune the radio. Pull on the pointer. Come with me, pointer. There it comes. Actually see the screw mark driven into the pointer there. And the screw going down. Okay, so we've done this with the radio at 600, but there's a good chance when I go to do the string, it's going to go here and there and everywhere. But a couple rules are, when the capacitor is closed, the screw is straight up. That's easy to remember. And we'll take the plate off here. We don't want to scratch it up. No scratching it up. Start on the bottom one here. These, almost certainly these are invisible. And they can't see them through the front of the radio. They wouldn't put them where you can see them, but nevertheless I don't want to scratch up the I don't want to scratch it up as we're walking. Whoa! It's a long screw. The screws are coming out very nicely. So there's there we are. The supports here, just to make it even more challenging. Out come the supports. Put the screw in them. Standoffs. Would they be called standoffs? You know, I'm working on the part of the radio people look at. That's why I'm being very careful. One, so the plate's going to drop. I think that's okay. Go ahead. I'll hang on to it. Yeah, I would think, you know, a plastic surgeon doing work on somebody's stomach, I'm not too concerned, but a plastic surgeon's working on their face, I think he would be very concerned about some unfortunate thing happening. So there we are, we have the plate off. We'll be able to clean this very nicely now. Why don't we take a closer look at this? You can see that it's, can you see it in the camera? Oh, it's very clear in the camera that this is all faded from light striking it. Maybe some ultraviolet light. Or maybe something in the paint has volatilized or volatilized off of it and it's changed color because of that. Probably not, because it's a, I don't know. And there's some kind of spray now in the, I'll have to look at that under the camera. Is it spray or is it rust? This is hidden behind normally a piece of glass, but in fact in this radio the glass is gone and a nice piece of plastic has been put in its place, which looks like glass at a glance, but it's flexible plastic, like from packaging or something like that. So I've taken and washed this off. Oh my God, no. Because for all I know, and I've had this happen, one wipe, whoosh, half the number's gone. This one seems to be quite good, so I don't think that would happen. But again, this is somebody's face here. You know, wipe their nose off and then have them go through life with no nose. So I'd be very, very careful with this. A lot of these plates, of course, are glass. This one is not glass because this radio has no lights. And this radio has no lights because it's originally a battery-operated cable. And nobody wants to, you know, use a light bulb to drain their batteries on their radio. So battery-operated radios seldom, if ever, had a light on them. So this is why it's a metal plate instead of a sheet of glass. Let's look at it with the close-up camera here. You know, I just don't want to make a mistake. As I told you, I have done that. I've been there, done that. I think I'm going to max up the focus here on this camera. Just bear with me a moment. What happened there? Something fall over? Okay, so this is as close as this camera can focus. What is it? Are they spots of rust? Like if you look right here, there's a little buildup on the surface. So this appears to me to be rust. You can see rusty colors along the white paint. There's up here. It looks pretty rough right up in here. Now the thing about rust, when steel rusts, its volume increases by a factor of 7, which is why rust is the way it is. You get a big pile of rust from a small amount of steel. And that's what we see here, if this is rust. You have a small amount of steel turning into a large amount of debris. Copper oxide, or iron oxide, or whatever it is. So sometimes you can wipe off the debris and you're left with a tiny little imperfection which is almost impossible to see. It's a little like a volcano. If you can wipe off the volcano, you're left with a little pipe going down in the ground relative to the size of the volcano. Sure looks like rust to me. On the other hand, wiping this off, what's this white stuff here? How did that get on there? And this is the crudest thing you can do, Jim. Don't do that. I don't know what that is. How did that get on there? Because this is generally, it's protected by inside the cabinet. So what do you do about these rust spots? So I take a cloth, wipe them off. There's some areas of the plate here which I can experiment with because they are hidden. And of course the hidden parts haven't suffered. This probably is indicative of the original coating either going on with contamination in the paint. There was a story years and years ago about a whole bunch of cars being made, I think in Detroit, and the paint on them failed. So you'd be driving your car and literally sheets of paint would come off it. I saw these cars. They looked horrible. People sued to get their cars fixed. And what it was attributed to was the assembly line stopping. And so there was cars at all the different stages of manufacture, including painting. And if your car was sitting for a day, at a certain point in the painting process, enough contamination would fall on the car that when they painted it later, the paint would fail. So that's why you never buy a car built on a Monday. I think it came out, some rule like that came out of it. Don't buy a car built on a Monday because it may have been sitting over the weekend or something crazy like that. Well, I just see the same stuff everywhere I look. I don't see anything really different happening. So, can I do anything about this? Should I do anything about it? Let's take a long look at it. Really dwelling on this because, this radio, I believe this radio is headed for another 100-year life. That's what I think. This radio is going to go back in the hands of the owner. The cabinet is beautiful. The radio will be working when he gets it. And it's going to definitely survive that person and their family. It's going to be handed down. It's going to be handed down. It's not a big, ugly radio either. It's a nice-looking radio. So 100 years from now, this radio could very well still exist. And you know what? 100 years from now, people could be watching my finger do this. Isn't that weird? Yeah. So let's take a long look at it. What could I do to make this look better? Well, I don't think really anything. And I'm just not inclined. See, it almost looks like somebody's, maybe accidentally sprayed some material onto it during the painting process. Who knows? Who knows why the rust spots are so scattered? And up in here, you can see what's a strike mark from the pointer. If you remember, I showed you the pointer had been bent outwards. And that was probably to correct the strike mark that was happening. And why was it striking here? Because this has become kind of warped in some way. Or because the grommet here is no longer lifting it to the original position. And over time, the pointer finally started slicing in. In fact, it's slicing all the way around, isn't it? And then the previous repairer, a wise guy, saw that and bent the pointer ever so slightly. So now we look at the string. Okay, I'm going to leave the plate because I don't think I can make any kind of an improvement and the risk of making a mess of it is pretty high, really. In fact, I'm going to get it off my bench and set it over here in the safe area. There is no safe area. Now, take a look at this. The string comes up, goes through this hole, comes down. There's one spring. It's attached here to a little eye, and the other side is tied to both strings. So the ends of the strings are coming in, they're going in like this. Typically in these radios, one end is fixed and the other end is hooked up to a spring. But in this one, they put them together onto the spring. In the odd radio, maybe more than odd radio, the ends don't actually come in here, or the ends come in and are fixed. I won't go into that. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, you know. If you are kind of person working on these radios, you'll find out about your own radio by working on it. So it's a simple matter of cut the string, lay it out, get an estimate of the length from the original string. In fact, I don't actually have to cut it. I can disconnect it here. We're going for it. We're going for it. I've already turned this. Not that it matters, right? Because that little set screw is straight up. Should I tighten that? Oh, sorry about that. Is this set screw only holding? Look at, there's another set screw. So this set screw is holding the wheel to the shaft, and this set screw was going through and picking up the pointer on the inside. That's exactly how it was. Very good. So what we want to do is put down the screwdriver, and we want to unhook this. Now I have some tools I like to use for this kind of stuff. Let me see if I can get them. One of them I call my pusher puller. So basically dental tools. This one has a nice hook on the end there. This is my pusher puller. This is a tool I bent. I made this. Wow. It'll hook there, but this is the pusher puller. It's like a reverse hook. You can actually push with this. That's the whole idea. Very handy thing. We will now use it. I'm going to take a closer look at how this is done, because it looks like it's been squeezed down, and that would be a little unusual. It is kind of squeezed down, isn't it? A little hard to get that off. Maybe I should go up here. I'll just take a pair of cutters and nip that knot right out of there. Just leave the spring on here for now. There's a lot of trickiness in doing these. Even the simplest one like this is a very simple one. I would say if you're about to do a string on a radio, you should be taking the same length of time as me. Go real slow, and be prepared for frustration, and be prepared to walk away from it, lest you risk your soul doing this. So I think in this case, the best move I can make right now is just cut the string right in here. If I cut the knot, let it come off. Try not to cut the spring. Cutters that can cut string. There. Oh, still hanging on. Yeah, that tells me, this string really wasn't that bad. It's just it's climbing down here, and I think maybe a new string will stop climbing. There we are. Now you can really see that wandering effect there. There it is. So this tells me an idea of how much string to use. I am so cheap. I try my best not to waste any string. Frankly, in the course of doing that, I have wasted a lot of string by cutting it just a little bit too short, That's okay. I'll just cut it longer after. Yeah. Okay, so that's the minimum length. We'll add to it a necessary amount, then a me amount, that's because of me, and then a safety amount. That's got to be long enough. And that compares to the original. Oh, it's much longer than the original. That's okay. I got lots of string left here. Cut it. Okay, now we need to plan out how to go about doing this. So I think I would do the let me get my diagram here. I would do the wrap around. Come up. So it's so simple. Come around, go in. Pull the two ends through. And then somehow I gotta knot them in here. How am I gonna do that? Because the strings are going through this porthole here, I can't, well maybe I could dismount the string to build up slack. And then remount the string when I'm done. Now would I know exactly that I've got the right length? Because a small, like there's only this much to play with. The spring has to have tension. Wow, that's a strong spring. Holy smokes here. That's really quite a bit stronger than I would have expected. I'm trying to get a feel for the tension here on it. Come on, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. How am I going to know? I'm not going to know anything from that. Just pull it straight out. Very, very strong spring. Very strong. The difficulty with that is the sweet spot is very, very small. The length of the string has to be just right to pull this just enough. Pull this too much, you know, this whole thing is collapsing. Don't do it enough, it slips on here. This very strong spring is actually a challenging thing. It's surprising to me to be that strong. So look, there's another rubber washer here. One here, one here, one here. So I could think about changing that. Now the metal plate is screwed onto here, so its position relative to here is fixed. It's not a plate sitting on the cabinet and this thing has to mate up to it. So that would work okay. What I'm thinking about is changing these. Now's the time to do it. Change the grommets, get this thing more solid, but it's going to lift it. It's going to lift it up. You can see how much it's going to lift it up. I think I should do that. We should change those grommets. Now what about accessing the what I'm going to do here is I'm going to unplug the speaker so it's not so the wires aren't getting oh my gosh, it's really hanging in there. Wow, it's not going to fall out on its own. There, we just take that off. Let's look at the position of the screws underneath here. This radio's had work done on it. Those screws could be out of reach. They could be hidden behind components and stuff. So let's look at this. So here's one. There's the other one. And the third one is up in here. They're all fairly accessible. There's nothing right on top of them. So back off these screws, pull out the grommets. They're going to fall apart. Now, do I have an appropriate replacement? Well, no. I have grommets, but they're not going to be exactly like that. So let's examine that question. Let's examine that. So I'm just going to have to dig for my grommets. I'm going to stop for a sec. Oh my gosh, that's half an hour. Okay, now I have to take one out to really match it up here. Here's my grommet collection. Not really a collection. So we'd need 3. Wow, that's just going to be way too big, isn't it? You would think the little screw, just kind of a little hole here. Like these are more like protectors for a hole. You're going to put wires through. It's kind of really what they are. This looks a little closer to what's probably in there. So the question is there something in here that's going to do the job? And the hole that's drilled through here is probably quite large to fit these grommets. But I don't know until I take it apart. And what is the difficulty in that? So we take it apart. There are wires dropping down through here. They're going to restrict the movement of this. So I can't just take it right off. That's not happening. It's going to be lifted up a little bit. Shove these things in. How can I plunge this into the hole under here if I can't lift this right off? And I have to desolder these, lift this right off. The whole thing is becoming a gigantic project. So there's another, looks like a ground strap here, and the one on the back there. So that'd be 4 things that have to be removed. I did all that alignment. Oh my gosh, sorry about that. I'm still looking at the grommets. I did all that alignment. Never put the covers on these tubes. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's another boob up. I've become anxious here. We could try one of these. We could try. Now, if we do one successfully and go, oh, okay, that's good enough. Can I just do one and abandon the rest? I got to do them all. Should do them all. I got lots this size. If I do one, I get to see how big the hole is in the chassis. You know, if it's like that, this won't work. And do I have a solution aside from that? I got these big honkers here. That's going the wrong way. I would think smaller might be necessary. That might go right through a hole if the hole is that size. Oh my gosh! Now I've got some others here that there's no hole in them. So I guess the idea is you punch the hole when you need to use them. Good time to stop and think before I get myself into really big trouble here on a radio that's working nicely, and I have the potential to degrade the whole thing here. Okay, next step is a practice session. So I'm going to practice this. In other words, I don't plan to actually get it right. So we go around twice like that. Oh, I'm going to have to consider the what I can do about this piece here, because this is going to walk up the, pretty sure to also walk up the shaft here. Okay, but I'm just practicing. So like I said, we'll think about that in a minute. Here. So this would come around like this, pretty simple. This would come around like this. You drop them down in. Drop it down in. Grab them. So give me proof that I've got the length right. So I'll pretend I'm the spring. I'm attached right there. Because there's nothing more frustrating than getting this done and finding out, oh, you really boobed it up. You have to do it again. So the actual length is more like that. So you want this strong spring stretch slightly. So that would be it. Now, there we go. Okay, watch the string. It's climbing. Ooh, did you see it jump there? You know, I think I may have let go of the pressure, but that's what you want. You want it to jump like that. jump back. Part of the very, very strong spring might be guaranteeing that this slides back. Maybe that's the calculation there that the original designers made. Okay, I forgot about these grommets. I forgot about them. So one of these is going to be the easiest one to experiment with. Let's pick which one that is. It's got to be this one. You can always take it partially apart and put it back together. Okay, we can just leave this like this. There we are. Take that out of there. I have a feeling that's bigger than a 1/4 inch. Okay, you can also do it with a screwdriver. Not very. So often these have a center metal sleeve, something like this sleeve. When you tighten the screw down, you actually tighten it onto the sleeve, and the rubber piece is sitting around it. It only gets squeezed to a certain point, and then the screw will lock because of the sleeve. The sleeve often is part of what looks like a washer. So we pull this out. Oh, the thing is got right around on it. We're going to break things here, I think. No, I'm wrong about that. It's one washer, and there's the sleeve right there. This is pretty thick. There's a lot of rubber left underneath here. Well, maybe there's another alternative here. I can just shove some stuff up in here to stabilize the top, because the bottom of these washers, the bottom of these are good. And I don't have an exact replacement. Let's look at doing that. That might be a better way to do it. And really, all I need to do is kind of lift the front anyway. I think. Let's put this right in. So you can tighten this right up, and it only compresses the sleeve so far. But after this many years, so far is too far. When you put something like this under pressure, it's as if you've invested energy into it, and that energy will be utilized to increase the rate of chemical activity. These things are chemically active. That's why they change over time, and the extra pressure is going to increase that rate, or even kind of strain the material into a situation where it can become chemically active, or it can be attacked by oxygen or something like that. That's how I imagine it. In other words, if these things hadn't been compressed, they would probably still look like new. Probably. Well, what we do is I loosen this one off, and then jam a couple of washers in there, and then just tighten it down, and they'll stay put, and they will do the job of stabilizing this thing and lifting it just a bit. Let's try that. So I will undo this screw a little bit. Careful now. Oh, this one's loose. The first one was loose. Not this one. Now, so how do accidents happen? Accidents need 4 elements to make an accident. I don't remember all 4, but one of them is energy. What's that look like? It looks like this. Oh, wow, it cammed out. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting it to be that difficult. Let me get a bigger screwdriver with a bigger handle, and now a more powerful person. And more power. Don't break anything. Here we go. That cammed out again. It's camming out because I can't set the screwdriver perfectly into the slot here. Foiled at every turn. In the end, I would tighten that back down anyway into this position. Can I just shove these in there? Can I just shove them in? Just shove them in. Try an even smaller one. Is it smaller? It's the same thing, Jim. These are the smallest ones. I got something like that too. A little more compressible. This is not really the... Where'd you go? I have lost it. It's been eaten by the radio. No, it's right there. Did it fall into a hole or something? No, there's no hole there. It's there. Now let's stick another one in on the other side. That's probably good enough like that. Well, we've got it pretty stable now. Careful, Jimmy, you're going to break this. Sticking some more under here. So these two screw tops are sticking out a fair bit, and this one is not sticking out quite as much. Is it loose? That's the one I just did. I just did this. I don't think it's loose. Where's the big guy? There's the big guy. Too big for the slot. Well, what do we got here? Reality check. Where are you going with this, Joe? What are you trying to achieve here? So this is not wobbly. It's just a tiny amount of play back here. Actually shove those back further. They will lift the plate more centrally. Solve all the problems. Back you go. Well, yeah. Well, this is nice and straight now. This guy has still got a warp in it, and I doubt that can be fixed easily. Try just by trying to push the stuck out part. But yeah, I don't think so. I don't think I can bend that with any. I think I'm going to have to just leave it the way it is. It's just this wheel in the background anyway. I don't think the string's going to dismount. I think we got this set good enough. Whole chassis rocking there. Okay, on to this challenge now. Get the string in place. We want it to go down through here, and then I'm going to mark on the string. Yeah, I think I better mark on the string where the knot has to end up. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to tie a knot here, and then I'm going to hook the hook between the strings. Okay, so this is tightened up. I'm going to put a mark there. I don't have a pen in my hand. Let me get a pen here. Okay, so we've got to allow for some spring expansion. looks good. Looks right. There. Put the knot there. Trying to tie a knot into an exact position. And we only got one string mark. Tie the knot there. So I'm going to have a lot of trouble tying the knot with this little bit of string here. So I'm going to back it out. I can tie it out here, and realizing that somebody took my pliers? Can't be my cats. My cats are spending the morning in the garage because it's raining outside. Gives them the, oh, here. No, I don't know what happened to my pair of pliers. But I have another pair. Thing's hanging right out here. Don't tie it too tight. I'm going to tie it tight enough to get it through that hole, though. I don't think this is going to go through the hole. Appear to have the knot in the right spot. Now I'm going to put this back on here. Don't lose any turns. How did it? I got that right. I'm going to shove this through the hole. If you plan these out really well, then when you go to implement, you won't break down and start crying. You know that old saying, right? Fail to plan, you've planned to fail. Another basic rule of thumb too is, let's say you've got a 1 hour project in front of you. Let's say you have 1 hour to do something fairly complicated. You should spend 25% of that time planning out their last 75%. People, me too, we tend to jump ahead. You get into it. Let's get moving on this. Stop the talking. Let's get going. Oh no, no, no. Much planning is wise. I think this is wrong. Did I mess this up? Give me some slack here. No, it's perfectly right. Good. Okay, put this back on. Now getting this onto the spring is another challenge. Might be better to take one piece off here and use the slack to get it on, or you have to pull against this very stiff spring and pull it out to here. I think I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to pull this off. And now I got to hook this. I can't even see it. Okay. There's the hooking part. Well, that's not very nice. Yeah. Oh, this is really stiff. This is a really stiff spring. I wonder if it got stiff over the years. Yeah, I cut the string off of this. There's no open hook here. It's I'm gonna have to create an opening here by bending this. Bending spring steel is not easy. That was easy. Okay. We're all set now. Hook this on here. I'll bet you my cats are tired of being in the garage, in fact, and they're ready to come in here. I need the small hook. What happened to the small? What do I do with it? There it is. What's it doing way over here? Use this hook here. Come on. Just missed. So you're watching me do just about the simplest that you can have it. And look at how much finagling there is here. Wow, that looks like it's going to really pull on that spring. Fantastic. I think it's fantastic. That's good tension. Let's see what happens here. Let's watch what goes on. What does it do? Okay, here we go. Okay, this is all the way one way. We're all the way one way. So it's not quite in the right starting area. Like it should be a little further along, but if we go back and forth a few times, it might correct itself. Now it should slide towards the middle. See how rough the surface is in there? It doesn't want to slide, climbing right up and out of the groove. Let's go back. Let me help it come along here. Okay, now we're at one extreme. And we're almost at the other extreme. So you can see I'm letting go and it pulls back. That's not bad. Fact is, nobody listens to the radio tuned up at this end anyway. It's all done down at this end. So it is climbing out a little bit. It's not doubling over. It's not bad. That's not bad. It's not as bad as the other string. The other string was climbing right out and trying to escape. This guy's just going up and having a little peek. What's outside of this valley I'm stuck in anyway? Does the larger universe hold? Let's take a peek. Ah, more shaft. Okay. Very good. Very, very good. Okay, I'm happy with that. That all worked out. You might say, oh my God, what was all that fussing about? It was so easy to do. Well, the reason it was easy to do was all the fussing. So I'm going to put the plate back on and pointer back in. You know the rule for the pointer. Have this like that. Screw it straight up. Pointer straight this way. Okay, but I'm going to take a little break now because this is taking a long time. But then, you know what? You can see I'm pacing myself very slowly here because did I get at all frustrated in this process? No. And that's what success looks like when you do one of these strings. No frustration. So, yeah, if you wonder what I do when I take off for my coffee break, I'm watching YouTube videos, usually on physics. And I try to stay away from current events as much as possible. And I love listening to anything Roger Penrose has to say. I'm just watching him now. How are we doing? Feels good. Okay, so I have a sensation that it's tightening up here. You can see the plate moving a little bit, at least I can. But that's way up at the high end here. We come down. The pointer actually goes above the metal. Come down. Feels great. Feel a little bit of tightening there, but nothing serious. The main stations are located here in this range, right here. which of course it works just fine. The string, even if it does ride up, it's not going to break because it's got lots of life in it. It's a thumbs up. Okay, so what's left for this radio is to get back into, how do I get two of these? Back into its cabinet, and then have a final test. And I have to fix a little tear in the speaker here too. One of the things that happens when I'm doing this work is here on my bench, I don't hear any hums. You put that speaker into a proper cabinet where there's some baffling, and the next thing you know, you can hear a hum. So hopefully that won't happen. I also have to make a little special wire. This is not good enough, so we can plug in that loop antenna can be plugged in. Wonderful. That's it for today. I'm happy with what happened there. Thank you to who emailed me. I'm sorry, I don't want to guess. Here's my pliers. I don't want to guess at your name. I can't remember now. So I'm sorry, but somebody emailed me and said, hey, what about the string? Thank you. I needed that. I needed that little kick. So that's it. And the next radio is in my garage, and the next radio is on its way here right now. So I got lots of work ahead of me. Thanks a lot for watching, and maybe you'll see the finished radio. I should really get even a short little video of it onto my channel. Thanks a lot for watching, and have a good day. See ya. Oh, and thanks for the super thanks. See ya.